Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Tonight, I wanted to do a video, and it's all about the masks that we wear. And this particularly goes out to men right now. I want you to ask yourself, what mask are you wearing? What are you showing to other people that maybe is not the real you? That maybe is not what's happening on the inside and what you're really feeling. So many of us are programmed since a young age to be a man and to be a certain way so that we can be perceived as powerhouses or that we're better than others and that we need to be the best at everything we do. And this whole culture that we create around manhood. And we develop these feelings, these false feelings that we end up showing everybody else, and it's not really who we are deep down inside. And if we do show who we are deep down inside, if we do cry, if we do show our feelings, if we do show our emotions, we're deemed as gay, we're deemed as weak, and a lot of us hold these feelings in because we don't want to be seen as a certain way to other people. And this is something that I went through as a male growing up, and I knew deep down inside that I was very sensitive. I had a lot of emotions. I mainly grew up around my mother, and so she was also very in touch with her emotions and was able to communicate and having these conversations. But I wasn't going to show this face to the world. I wasn't going to show everybody who I really was deep down inside. It wasn't until my late 20s when I started to really embrace the feminine side of me. Those emotions that I was told not to speak about to other people. And I covered everything up with a lot of alcohol, a lot of binge drinking, a lot of abuse to myself, and also to be that man like, oh, I'm, sleeping with this woman and doing this and boasting about that, and it became extremely unhealthy. And it wasn't until that I left this so-called box that I was in, this society that I was in, to be able to remove myself, to be able to go deep and go leave this country, to actually explore all of the things that I had built up and swept under the carpet. My heart had been hardened. And that's what's happening with so many men around the country and around the world, specifically in the United States, because these men are taught that we shouldn't be showing these things.
Wait, these boys are taught.
These boys are taught.
And then grow into men who perpetuate that programming.
And it's really tough because then we create this culture, this rape culture, this violent culture, this culture that is continuously being perpetuated, that's not stopping because we're not talking about these things and we're not bringing this up. And we need to start bringing this up. We need to start being more sensitive. We need to start talking about our emotions and not sweeping them under the rug. We need to be having these conversations on how we can support each other as men. And it's something that I've become more and more passionate about as I've realized a lot of the things that within myself that I was doing to really perpetuate this cycle. And I want to be there for anybody that can't speak their mind or is really sad and depressed on deep down inside because they have to be a certain way. And this is something that I really feel passionate about and something that I would love to be there for you to talk about.
And I'd like to chime in as a woman on this conversation. Just because we are women, it doesn't mean that we don't have a role to play in perpetuating this programming we've all fell victim to of what it means to be a man. I can think back to when I was in college and the first sensitive guy I met who cared deeply for me my beliefs of what a man was to be was put into my head through media, whether it was movies, books, romantic films, whatever it is. And him expressing his emotions at that time, in a point in my life where I was also hardening my own heart because I thought that that made me a tougher woman, it repulsed me. I thought it was just, who is this guy? I even think I remember telling him, toughen up, be a man. And the fact that that ever came out of my mouth, it's I don't have words to explain that. Because I fell victim to the same programming that every single one of us has. And women, people believe, are more in tune with their emotions when actually we all are in tune with our emotions from childhood. It's the programming we go through that removes us from expressing certain things about us, men in particular, with the expression of emotions. But women have also been taught that a real man is this tough, hardened, brave, strong man who doesn't need to express his emotions because he's so tough, strong man. And more women are starting to embrace the sensitive type. And I hate even saying the sensitive type because that doesn't exist. We've created it to exist. It doesn't exist in a human being. You can't have these types. You just are a human being and you show what you choose to express or not. But, throughout my own tragedies and traumas, I started to learn what it meant for me to become emotionally available, not as a woman, but as a human being. And then it took meeting Christopher when I was ready to embrace that within myself. He taught me what it was like for a boy to grow up into a man and what that meant for them with emotions and everything we've mentioned in this video. And it taught me so much about what I didn't allow certain men in my life to express, and that what I actually needed was someone who was willing to express and show their feelings, because it inspired me and helped nurture me to grow and show my own. Because when it all comes down to is we're all human beings that need to connect, express, share, communicate. We need to support each other, not belittle each other for being weak or being a pussy or being... Strength isn't not having emotion. Strength is being able to deal with that emotion appropriately and not hurt those around you in the process, but learn and grow together. So it's not a man's problem. It's not a woman's problem. It's a societal problem that we're going to keep perpetuating until we break the cycle within ourselves. Mm-hmm. And until we break that parental cycle that we've gotten stuck in with our boys and with our girls, and separating them and putting them into these boxes from the day they are born. Not even giving them a choice to be who they want to be until they're 18, until their teenage years, when they have no clue and they've become so far removed from their authentic self that we have how many kids committing suicide? That's the third leading cause of death in boys in America. In United States of America, that's the third leading cause of death in our boys. Because we, as parents, have removed them so far from their authentic self that they don't even know what fulfillment is.
Well, then what happens when we do this? What happens when they keep stuff inside? They can't talk about their true feelings. They start having insecurity issues. They start having the self-doubt talk. I know because I was there. I'm still working myself out of this program, and I'm still working myself out of all of this. It's real. Mm-hmm. And once we become insecure, we become sad, we become lonely. And what happens? We don't want to deal with it anymore. So what do? We end our lives. And I don't want to see this shit happening anymore.
No, and it's our responsibility as parents coming into this world. We're not parents yet. But that doesn't mean we don't understand how to be a good parent. And I think that's where parents are making a lot of the mistake, is saying, do you have kids? Well, if you don't have kids, you have no right to talk about it. No, that's where we're wrong. That's where we're mistaken. we all have a right to talk about how the children in our community should be raised. And that's in a supportive, loving, communicative home that doesn't use abuse to show punishment, that uses communication, love, compassion, understanding, everything that we want our men and women to be when they become of age. We need to start off from the day they're born. Instead of telling them who they're going to be, what they're going to do, what they're going to like doing, how they should act. And particularly with our boys right now, because guys, look around. Look around. I mean, the statistics are in our face. Men are committing more violent crimes. Men are committing more rapes and sexual assault. Men are the victims of this programming. And because they've been victimized, they are the perpetrators now. They are the ones causing the pain because they've been hurt. And the women get thrown into this cycle in a different way. And we can't dissolve this weird gender gap, this weird equality issue through not just men and women, but people of all sexualities, identities. We can't dissolve this inequality until we start doing that work on ourselves and then grow and raise our children in a way that we would want them to be able to reflect on themselves and do their personal development work through the support of us.
And it's so important to go inside and do this work, but it's also important to find people. And we're so fortunate in this day and age to have the connectivity that we do have. And if you don't have somebody in your immediate circle to talk to, there's always going to be somebody else. Talk to us. Talk to somebody that maybe you haven't met, but you find a support group on Facebook or something. There's ways of communicating to people. So there's ways of talking this out and getting this out into the open, because there's no more time to have this linger and be stuck within yourself. Let it out. Let it go. Forgive. And you know what? You'll be rewarded.
Absolutely, because once you align with your most authentic self, it's as if the bricks just lay one by one in front of your feet, and everything in your life that you find fulfillment in, because you know yourself truly, just flocks to you. It's like a magnet. You magnetize the people that you want to surround yourself with because they are a reflection of who you are inside. So when you meet someone that you don't particularly like, I challenge you to think, what is it about them that is within myself to such a deep level that I'm ashamed of it, or I'm angry, or I'm fearful of it? Bring that to surface. It's not easy and it's not fun, but once you do that work, you see people as equals. You see everyone as yourself. And that will continue more love, more compassion, more forgiveness. But really, this is a talk about authenticity, and it's a talk about reconnecting with your soul purpose, your soul connection, your divine essence as a spiritual being having this human experience. No matter what your faith is, we're in a miraculous existence. So, men, open up. Find men you can open up with. Find women you can open up with. Women, support these men in opening up. Women, open up, because you don't have to be masculine to be a strong woman. So, and raise your children with communication, for God's sake. Talk to your kids.
And you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about finding balance here. It's all about finding where we are, because if we're hyper one way, hyper masculine, hyper feminine, there's really no good in either of that. It's finding that middle ground, and however you have to find it. A lot of it has to do with this inner work that we're speaking of and talking about, this personal journey within. You will find that balance, and once that balance is found, fulfillment is right there in front of you.
Absolutely.
So, even Kit Kat agrees.
Oh, that's Jasmine.
Oh,
she
that's
got
it?
stuck in her room. I don't know if you hear her crying.
Well, with that said, we challenge you to go within, speak to other people, do what you have to do to release this, and we're there for you.
You are not your thoughts. You are not your limiting beliefs. You have the power to change every bit of what's in here, and your self-perception and your perception of others.